All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Sabasco, and today we're going to be looking at a workshop on how to begin the process to apply for an externship for clinical medical assistants and also medical coders and billers. To begin with, step one is to reach out to our friend, Miss JoBeth Davis. Here's her contact information. She can be reached at jobethr@condensedcurriculum.com. And JoBeth is on the call. So JoBeth, if you want to say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We're so glad you could be here today, JoBeth, to kind of talk us through that. So that's step one. JoBeth is lovely, and she's waiting to reach out to you guys, or waiting for you guys to reach out to her. Step two is that you will get a lot of documentation from Miss JoBeth and how to proceed with placements. So you'll learn a lot about what's next in terms of that documentation. Once all your documentation is submitted, that's when you can count on being placed. So we need to get all the documentation before we can actually place you. And that'll make more sense in just a minute, guys. The reason why we are so, and why documentation is so important is because it is the medical field, you guys. So for medical coding and billing, it's a little less rigorous than what you need for clinical medical assistant. So for medical coding and billing, it's a resume, and we need the most important waiver. It's supremely important that we get a waiver in place for you guys so that you can actually work on behalf of Governor State University as a medical coder and biller. For clinical medical assistant, the requirements are a little bit more robust because you're going to be working with, patients, with people. You're going to be taking blood pressures. You may be taking blood work. There may be a lot of things that you're going to be doing hands-on with these patients and clients. So we need a resume and a waiver, yes, but we're also going to need a documentation release form. So that's just something that states that, we can share your documentation with the prospective externship placement, right? We also need a statement of health form. It is so important that you're well and able, right? So we need a statement of health form. We also need proof of immunizations, and I'm sure you guys have probably gone over this a little bit in your classes, but we need to know that you are inoculated. We want to make sure that you're not exposed to anything that could harm you. And you can do that with, a record, an immunization record, or you can get a titer. You can have a titer pulled. Okay, so very important. I just have a little note here that if a site requires any additional documentation, like a background check or a drug screening, we will let you know if that's required. But just to caution you, I, advise you to plan on this requirement. There are not many medical facilities that are going to be waiving those requirements. So you guys be ready, okay? Background check, drug screen, plus all of these other documents, okay? Step 4, so you're going to be interviewing. So that'll be step 4. Really, you will begin interviewing, and then you will be assigned to your location. So we really want to make sure that you guys are getting a location that's close to your home and that is convenient for you, okay? But we cannot get around the interviewing process. You must interview for these positions, and it's very good practice for you guys as you're navigating your career and beginning your journey as a clinical medical assisting or as a medical coder and biller. So you'll interview, okay? And then you'll be assigned to your location. Step 5, and this is supremely important, you guys. We really want to make sure that you're keeping accurate records and that you are turning in your appropriate evaluations and that you've completed your full externship. So for clinical medical assisting, that's 160 hours. And then for medical billers and coders, that's going to be 80 hours. Okay, so it is supremely important that you log all of those hours and that you turn in your evaluation to Miss Jo Beth. Okay. I told you this would be short and sweet, and so now I would like to invite you all to ask any questions that you might have about this process. It's relatively easy, you guys. It's just a matter of submitting your documentation, staying in contact with myself or Jo Beth to really assist you in getting that placement. Take advantage of this opportunity, you guys. It's a great opportunity. So get the documentation and start gathering your documentation if you have it, especially when it pertains to those inoculation records. And now I would just like to open this up for whatever questions you guys have. So you can drop it in the chat, or if you just want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to unmute yourself as well. No questions? All right, let's move on. And if you guys have a question, don't worry. Miss Jo Beth did put her contact information into the chat. Thank you so much. Actually, that's Gina. Put her contact information in the chat. Here is also the contact information to reach either Gina or myself. So that's 708-534-4099 or continuing ed at govst.edu for more information. Remember, Miss Gina Brown is your career success coach. And I know you guys have been in communication with Gina. And if you have any questions or anything like that, Gina is your go-to person. And the last thing I want to do, I'm just putting this up on the screen, is that if you're a little nervous, a little unsure, we do have some mock interview sessions set up. These are a couple of dates that we've identified to do mock interview sessions with you. But if you can't make these and you need an appointment, we're happy to set up an appointment with you guys. Just want to let you know that this option is available to you as you prepare to interview for your externship and as you prepare to interview for your career, right? We have a great question in the chat. Is there a time limit on how long we have to turn in our immunization and documents? Honestly, and I'll ask Jo Beth to comment on this too as my colleague, but I would say as soon as possible. If you can turn in your immunization records and your documents as soon as possible, that is what's going to get you placed as soon as possible, right? So Jo Beth, do you have any comments on that? Time limits on how long we have?
Yeah, so I agree. We want to get the documentation in as soon as you're able to. If you are running into any time constraint with getting an appointment with your physician, just communicate that with me just so that I'm aware of when you are expecting to get that documentation in. The goal is to have you placed as soon as possible after your program has ended. We do understand, though, some of the items may take a little bit to get completed. So typically within a few months is really the latest that we want to be placing.
Thank you so much, Jo Beth. I hope that helped, Ms. Stampley. Did anybody else have, oh, excuse me, I hope that helped you, Tyrita. And mock interview dates are going to be December 7th and December 14th. That's for Ms. Stampley there. So coming up right around the corner. If you would like to schedule mock interview sessions, please reach out to Gina and we can slot you in for that day, for either of those days.
Hi, this is Ernestine. For the mock interview sessions, will they be on Zoom or in person?
We can accommodate you either way. So if you would prefer Zoom, we can do a mock interview session with you via Zoom. Or if you prefer to do it in person, we can do it in person.
Thank
you. Whichever you prefer.
Okay.
That's a great question. Ladies, wonderful questions. Keep them coming. What other questions do you have?
I'm a little embarrassed to ask this question because I mean, being a professional that I am, I still have a resume that I haven't updated in quite some time. And I just like to know if there's any help that I can receive as far as updating my resume or slimming it down or whatever, revising it. Am I able to get help with that?
Yes, 100%, absolutely. Miss Gina Brown, your career success coach, can help with, you know, you're kind of transitioning too from a different probably field, and we want to help you guys to really use the appropriate buzzwords, use the appropriate phrases, making sure that, you know,
Yeah, what's nice? Put it in here.
we just want to make sure that we help you to get it ready. There's absolutely no reason to be embarrassed, Miss Tolbert. We understand. We're here to help.
Thank you. Okay.
What else, guys, while we've got you?
Well, speaking of the placement places, and I think I understood it to be within, you know, area of your area that you live.
Mhm.
So
Yes, that's correct.
how, because there's quite a few clinics, a few hospitals in my area, how far will I travel? Do you have any idea?
Miss Jo
So
Beth,
it does
would you be able to help? Thank you.
Yes, it does depend on site availability. So if you have a particular location or preferences of locations that are close to you that you'd like for us to reach out to, we can definitely look into those to see if we've already reached out to those or reach out to them if we have not. If those sites are unavailable to host, we would continue confirming another location. Our goal is to place you as close as possible to your address.
Yeah.
Typically, it's within like a 15-mile radius. Sometimes we have to expand a little bit and go out from there. So usually the max is a 30-mile radius.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Good question. Good question. Any other questions, guys?
I think some states require a specific license for CMA. Would we have to obtain that license before our externship?
Miss Jo Beth, can you help with that question?
Sure. So you do not need to be licensed before completing the externship. There are some sites that have a preference where they would want that, but typically that is not the scenario. Usually sites are willing to host for an externship without you completing your national certification examination. Usually they're understanding that that's your goal is to practice first and then complete the certification. So it really just depends on the site, but typically you do not need to have the certification before completing the externship.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
And may I ask, this is Ernestine again, may I ask, with the externship, that is a process in gaining employment, or I'm sorry, experience in gaining employment, even though I've noticed with the research that I've done, they're asking 2 years or more experience as a medical billing encoder.
So
Yeah,
that does depend on the site as well. Some sites are hosting, and some sites are hiring after hosting without prior experience. So that requirement is also dependent on the location as well.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, thank you, Jo Beth. To piggyback off to that a little bit, the need for medical professionals is so great right now that while yes, it is ideal for you to have 2 years of experience, the need is so great that we're finding more and more sites willing to waive the requirement or work with you as you upskill and really on the job train for the next step.
Oh, okay, well, thank you.
Sure. Great questions. Great questions. Any other questions? And you know what, if you don't get an opportunity to ask those questions today, it's okay. We're here to help you, and we're here to support you. This session has been recorded, so if you would like to rewatch it, you can. And once again, if you want to reach out to myself or you would like to reach out to your career success coach, Miss Gina Brown, so that we can assist you in connecting with Miss Jo Beth, and beginning your externship process, here is our contact information. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We hope that we can see all of you guys at the mock interview sessions, whether that's in person or whether that's virtual. We just want to help you guys really get ready for the next step. So, any other questions? This is the last chance for questions. And if not, I hope everyone has a lovely evening.
I have a question.
Yes.
So since the externship is not paid, would the site be willing to work, with my current schedule?
So that's also dependent on the site too. Some sites are really strict, but we find a lot of sites are pretty flexible. Typically sites want to host a student that can accommodate at least 2 to 3 full weekdays per week, whereas other sites might be a little bit more flexible than that. But I would say try to be as available as possible, just because that opens more opportunities for a placement. But we completely understand, that you might need to continue working while you're doing the externship as well.
Okay, thank you.
We try,
Sure.
we try to understand that you guys have work schedules and lives and different things that you need to do. And we do try to communicate that with the externship site, but that externship site has needs and they have professionals that are going to be on board to help you upskill and learn on the job at certain times. And so it makes it a little challenging. It's not anything that we can't overcome together. But the more flexible you guys are with your scheduling, the better it's going to be, especially as it pertains to those individuals that are going to be on site to help you learn on the job. So something to think about.
Okay, again, I have 2 names here, Gina Brown and Jo Beth. And who are you in your name, please?
I'm Michelle Sabasco, and you guys have probably all met me when you first started. We talked on the phone as we qualified you guys for the program.
Okay.
And Gina Brown has come on board as your career success coach just a little bit after you guys started on October 3rd.
Yeah.
And so Gina is here for your hands-on day-to-day needs and operations. And I'm here to help support Gina as she helps you. And Jo Beth is our externship coordinator, and she's here to help when you guys come ready for that externship and doing those documents and identifying locations and stuff like that.
Okay, well, thank you. And it's nice meeting you, Ms. Sabasco.
Of course, nice meeting all of you guys. All right, well, we're going to close this off. I thank you all so much for spending your afternoon with us at Governor State University School of Extended Learning. And I invite you to continue to communicate with us, share your successes with us. We want to know what you're doing and how you're doing. And we want to be able to help you overcome and knock down those barriers. So we're here to help you guys. I thank you all for attending this evening, and we will be in communication very soon.
Thank you for the course.
You're welcome, you guys. Have a lovely evening.
You also. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.